Hey guys, this is Mrs. Moylan. We are here today for your homework to go through what you learned in class today, which was least common multiple. And then we're going to spend a little time talking about greatest common factor, which is what we're doing in class on Tuesday. So, we learned in class that if you are finding the least common multiple of two or more numbers, that you want to make a multiplication chart, because multiples are just that. They are numbers that are multiplied by anything else. So I've drawn out my multiplication chart, and the two numbers I'm going to be working with are 2 and 6. So I put my 2 and 6 on the multiplication chart, and then I start doing my multiplication. I put them in the wrong spot. Let's get rid of those. They go here. Then I start doing my multiplication just like I fill out a regular multiplication chart. So I've got 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 7 is 14. And then 2 times 8 is 16. Once I'm done with the 2, then I start on my other number, which is 6. So I've got 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. And then 6 times 8 is 48. Once I've got that all worked out, then I can look and see what numbers are in common. So I see that there's a 6 on both lists. I see that there is a 12 on both lists. And that seems to be it. So my choices are either 6 or 12 that I'm looking for. Remember, I'm looking for the least common multiple. So the one that's in common, but the smallest one. So if I look at my choices, 6 is obviously smaller than 12. So the LCM of 2 and 6 would be 6. Okay, let's try another one. We're going to do 3 and 18. 3 and 18. So we'll go through the 3's first. We've got 3 times 1 is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. And then we'll go through the 18s, and we've got 18. But then you know what? I can stop because I see that there's already a number that's in common. So you don't have to keep going forever and ever and ever. You get to stop whenever you find the smallest one in common. So the LCM of 3 and 18 equals 18. Let's try 2 more. Next one we're going to do 2 and 3. Start with some nice little numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and then I go through my 3's, and I've got 3, 6, 9, but I can stop because I've already seen that I've got a 6 here, and I've got a 6 here. So that's my least common multiple, because it's the smallest one in common between 2 and 3, so the LCM equals 6. Let's go through another one. Let's do some bigger numbers. We've got 12 and 14. Okay? Now you might be looking at this and say, yeah, I know my 12s. 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, and then you keep going. 96, right? But then you might look and say, well, I don't know my 14s. I know 14 times 1, of course, and 14 times 2 I might know, but I don't know my 3's. Well, you can just figure them out. 14 times 3, and do the multiplication off to the side if you cannot figure them out off the top of your head. So you've got 3 plus 1 is 4, and you put that in. So you might take a while to do it, but it's not difficult, it's just time consuming. We've got our 70, and we've got our 84, and then I see that, thank goodness, I get to stop multiplying 14s because there's my least common multiple. So the LCM of 12 and 14 would equal 84. So that's a review of what we did in class today with the least common multiples. Let's take a look at tomorrow. We're going to be greatest common factor. So you see over here, G stands for greatest, C stands for common, and F stands for factor. So we're still looking for things that are in common, just like the least common multiple. Let's try and do the greatest common factor of 2 and 6. Okay? So we're going to make a T-chart. You've probably done this in 5th grade. So we'll start our T-chart. You just make a big T. And then what I like to do is I like to list the numbers down the side, because that way it gives me kind of a checklist to go through and see if it goes into my number at the top. So I check 1. 1 goes into 2 2 times. 2 goes into 2 1 time. 3 does not. 4 does not. 5 does not. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 do not go into 2. Once I've got my factors listed out, I got to look for any repeats. This says 1 and 2. This says 2 and 1. That's the same thing. So we get rid of the repeater. That means that 2 only has 2 factors. It has the factors 1 and 2, which we learned in Pride class means that it is a prime number, right? So the only 2 factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Then we check 6. So we go through 6. Yes, 1 goes into 6 6 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 4 does not. 5 does not. 6 goes into it once. 7 does not. 8 does not. 9 does not. And 10 does not. Then I look for my repeats. I've got 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and then I say 3 and 2. That's a repeat, so we get rid of it. 6 and 1, that's a repeat. We get rid of it. So that means 6 only has 4 factors, which makes it composite, right? Now that I've got my list, I need to find the biggest number on both lists, which in this case, the biggest number on both lists is going to be 2. So the GCF of 2 and 6 is 2. Okay? How about if we try the two numbers 16 and 9? So I've got my 2 T-charts drawn out and ready to go. I've got 16 and then I've got 9. So you want to list your factors. 1 goes into 16 16 times. 2 goes in 8 times. 3 does not. 4 goes in 4 times. 5 does not. 6, 7 does not. 8 goes in 2 times. Nope for 9 and nope for 10. So those are my factors of 16. I look for the repeats, 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4, and then I see 8 and 2. That's a repeat, so we'll get rid of that guy. And then we go over and we do our factors of 9. 1 goes in 9 times, 2 goes in not at all, 3 goes in 3 times, nope for 4, nope for 5, nope for 6 or 7 or 8, and 9 goes in 1 time, and a no for 10. Those are my factors. Look for my repeats. 1, 9, 3, 3, 9, 1. So I get rid of 9 and 1. Alright, so now that I've listed all my factors, now I got to look for the biggest number that's on both lists. I see 1. I see, I think that's all I see. Looks like 1 is going to be the biggest number on both lists. So the greatest common factor of 16 and 9 equals 1. And that's okay if it's 1. That's just the way it goes. Let's try one more. We're going to do the greatest common factor of 15 and 30. So we put our numbers at the top of our T-chart. We've got 15 and we've got 30. I've listed out my 1 through 10, so I start to go through. 1 times 15, 2 times nothing, 3 times 5, 4 times nothing, 5 times 3, 6 times nothing, nope for 7, nope for 8, no for 9, and no for 10. Done with 15. Those are all my factors. Going over to 30, 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 does not go in, 5 does go in 6 times, 6 goes in 5 times, 7 does not, 8 does not, 9 does not, and 10 goes in 3 times. So then once I've got my factors, I look for any repeats. 1 and 15, 3 and 5, 5 and 3. Since 5 and 3 is a repeat, we cross that off. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6, 6 and 5 is a repeat, and 10 and 3 is a repeat. So we get rid of those. Then we are left with the factors that we see, looking for the biggest number. So what I see, sometimes it helps if you make a little list. What I see in common is 1. I see 3. I see 5. And I see 15. So those are the numbers that are on both lists, which means that we go with the biggest one, which is 15. So 15 will be the greatest common factor of 15 and 30. You're going to have 2 questions to do for your homework assignment. So get those done and remember to put your name and your class period and submit them on the Google form. Have a great night.